No one anticipated this. Not after months of denials, cryptic postings on social media, and those uncomfortable public appearances in which Jasmine and Kirk hardly shared a frame. But now that the silence has been broken, fans, friends, and even their own families have been shocked by what they have finally said. As whispers developed into full-fledged rumors, emotions ran high. And those rumors are blowing up into something far bigger than anyone anticipated tonight. Fans have been stunned for weeks by Kirk's abrupt behavioral change, his late-night disappearances, his guarded interviews, and the way he became agitated anytime Jasmine's name was mentioned. Meanwhile, Jasmine shared pictures of herself grinning that seemed a bit too staged. Captions that concealed something deeper while hinting at happiness. Then there was that one photo that was swiftly removed after keen-eyed fans claimed to have spotted a baby onesie in the backdrop. Confirmation or coincidence? Things were even messier behind closed doors. Heated conflicts reportedly rocked both homes, according to sources. Trust was strained to the limit as accusations flew. Family members allegedly demanded answers, forcing friends to take sides. Jasmine and Kirk weren't prepared to give. The family was split, with some applauding the prospect of fresh life and others cautioning that this bond was based on secrets. Kirk and Jasmine are finally speaking out together after months of rumors. However, the fairy tale announcement that fans anticipated is not what they reveal. It's tense, passionate, and unvarnished. Is a female indeed on the way? If that's the case, why did it take so long for the truth to surface? Stay still because nothing and nobody will escape unscathed once this plot begins to fall apart. On the surface, the night that everything started to fall apart was tranquil. However, emotions ran hot behind closed doors in levels that were unimaginable to anyone beyond those walls. Replaying Jasmine's final words in his mind, Kirk sat by himself in his living room with his phone face down on the table. She had asked him earlier that day, her voice quivering between dread and rage, "How long do you think we can keep pretending?" The stillness was heavier than any dispute they had ever had since he hadn't responded back then. Outside, followers continued to argue, speculate, and debate in the comment sections without realizing that the reality was already destroying two lives. While all was going on, Jasmine stood in front of the bathroom mirror with tears streaming down her cheeks and her hands protectively resting on her stomach. She told herself in a whisper that she had to and that she could accomplish this. To her, the rumors were more than simply gossip. They were the truth that was growing and breathing within her. Everything had changed when the baby girl rumors were verified in private discussions with medical professionals and close friends. This was no longer merely a relationship. This has to do with timing, fear, and the fallout from secret love. A simple family get-together had become something akin to a battleground earlier that week. In the kitchen, Jasmine's sister had cornered her, lowering her voice but making every statement more pointed. She insisted, "Are you really going to let him hide you like this?" Jasmine attempted to defend Kirk by claiming that he simply needed time and was afraid. But uncertainty began to creep in even as she talked. Kirk's brother was speaking to him in a similar manner across town, cautioning him that fans were already suspicious and that the consequences would worsen the longer he delayed. "Do you believe that quiet is acceptable on the internet?" His brother lost it. "They are refusing to let go despite the blood odor." Friends started to notice the stress. Kirk stopped attending dinners with the group. Jasmine ceased taking calls. When they did get to see one another, it was in a hurry and was characterized by stolen glances and muttered disputes. The strain finally broke out one night in a parked car outside Jasmine's house. "You promised me," Jasmine sobbed, her voice breaking. "You said when the moment was right," Kirk screamed, slamming his hand on the driving wheel in a fit of rage. "And what if the time is never right? Do you know what this will do to everything I've built?" he retorted. Those words hung between them, poisonous and unforgettable. Jasmine turned away, wiping her tears, realizing in that moment that love alone wasn't going to protect her or their unborn child. Fans are shocked now, but at the time it was just two people trapped between fear and one responsibility. When Kirk drove away that night, Jasmine didn't chase him. Instead, she made a call that would completely change the course of the story. The following day, a close friend of Jasmine posted a cryptic message online about choosing truth over comfort. Fans quickly made the connection, screenshots went viral, and old interviews were analyzed. Suddenly, every public smile Kirk had made felt phony, every denial suspicious, and emotions erupted on social media as supporters demanded answers. Some accused Jasmine of chasing attention, while others accused Kirk of cowardice. The family was split, with relatives calling each other, arguing over what should be said and when, and Kirk felt the pressure mounting. When he was alone one night, he finally listened to a voicemail Jasmine had left hours earlier. Her voice was calm but firm, saying, "I'm done hiding. With or without you, the truth is coming out. I just hope you're standing next to me when it does." Kirk sat there long after the message ended, realizing that the secret he thought he was protecting was already destroying everything. Brand managers warned him, friends distanced themselves, and even casual encounters turned tense as people looked at him as if they knew something. As Jasmine mentally prepared herself, she started writing letters she never intended to send, sharing her hopes and fears. She imagined a time in the future when her daughter would ask how her parents' story began, and she didn't want that story to begin with shame. Meanwhile, Kirk was plagued by flashbacks of happier times with Jasmine. Moments before fear took over, he remembered laughing in private, dreaming aloud, and making promises he wasn't sure he could fulfill. The turning point occurred during a family dinner at Kirk's parents' house. Kirk opened his lips, shut it, and eventually got up from the table as the room fell silent. His hands were trembling. "Yes," he said, barely above a whisper, and everything he'd been avoiding came crashing into reality in that moment, setting the stage for revelations that would shake everyone watching. The room remained frozen after Kirk said that one word. His mother's face was devoid of color. Jasmine wasn't there, but her presence filled the room like a ghost everyone could feel but no one could name. Kirk swallowed hard and finally said what he'd been holding back for months. "There's more to the story than you think," he said, his voice trembling. When Kirk's mother called Jasmine that same evening, it was brief, tense, and full of pauses that spoke louder than words. "We need to talk," she said, and Jasmine agreed, knowing there was no turning back now. When they met the following day, the atmosphere was thick with inspired judgment. Kirk's mother glanced at Jasmine's stomach for a moment too long before meeting her eyes. "Is it true?" Silently, she inquired. "Yes," Jasmine said, nodding as tears filled her eyes. "There's a baby girl." Fans were already in a frenzy as leaked photos of Kirk leaving Jasmine's building late at night surfaced. Old clips were reposted, moments where their chemistry suddenly seemed obvious in hindsight, and fans were shocked as theories exploded online. The silence that followed felt endless, while families struggled behind the scenes. He played her, some were sympathetic, some brutal. One comment said, "She trapped him," another accused. Jasmine tried to stay offline, but the noise found its way to her anyway. Each comment cutting deeper than the last. Kirk attempted damage control, sitting with his publicist and rehearsing statements he never released. "We can spin this," the publicist insisted. "Deny, delay, divert." Hearing it made Kirk feel ill. When he unexpectedly turned up at Jasmine's door late that night, she opened it slowly and with a guarded expression. "What are you doing here?" he asked, thinking of Jasmine sitting by herself, bearing the weight of the truth while he hid behind strategy. "I can't keep running, but I'm terrified," Kirk muttered as he entered the room with regret in his eyes. They soon became passionate in their conversation. Voices were raised, tears were shed, and for a brief moment it appeared as though everything would fall apart. However, Jasmine's words, "This isn't about us anymore," whispered, "This is about her." Kirk accused her of forcing his hand, while Jasmine accused him of choosing reputation over responsibility. When Kirk realized how badly he had failed to keep the people he loved safe, he sobbed and fell to the ground. When Jasmine's family got together a few days later without Kirk, her father became enraged and paced the room, declaring, "No man who hesitates deserves to call himself a true father." Soft but firm, her mother assured Jasmine that she would be there for her no matter what. "With or without him," she said, holding Jasmine's hands. Jasmine was torn between relief and heartbreak. She loved Kirk, but she could no longer afford uncertainty. At the same time, information about Kirk's inner circle started to leak, whether on purpose or not. A so-called friend told a blogger that Kirk wasn't ready for fatherhood. The quote went viral. Fans are shocked once more as Kirk's reputation started to deteriorate. Brands quietly halted partnerships, invitations stopped coming, and all of a sudden, the life he was attempting to preserve was disappearing. Nevertheless, pressure increased until Kirk and Jasmine's inevitable confrontation occurred once more, this time in a calmer but heavier manner. They sat across from one another, not crying or yelling, just exhausted. "What do you want?" "I want to be there, but I don't know how to survive what's coming," Kirk remarked after taking a big breath in response to Jasmine's question. "Then you better learn fast," Jasmine said, nodding slowly. "Because the truth doesn't wait." Weeks later, a relative unintentionally liked a comment congratulating Jasmine, making it impossible to keep the secret. Screenshots went viral. The story changed from rumor to almost certainty. Fans analyzed every action in quiet, and people's emotions were running high as they called for a joint statement. "Tell us the truth," they urged. "Stop lying." It wasn't romantic, and it wasn't simple, but Kirk eventually consented to sit down with Jasmine and arrange what they would say together. No one was entirely satisfied with the compromise, but it was a start. The night before they were going public, Kirk couldn't sleep and stared at the ceiling, realizing that the biggest fear wasn't backlash or headlines, but rather the possibility that Jasmine might never trust him again. Across town, Jasmine put her hand on her stomach and whispered promises to her unborn daughter, promising strength, truth, and love, even if the world turned against them. When morning finally arrived, neither of them was prepared. Cameras were waiting, phones were buzzing. The story they attempted to conceal was about to become public property, and once it was spoken aloud, nothing would ever be the same. The moment the cameras turned on, everything seemed surreal. Kirk and Jasmine sat side by side, close enough to touch but emotionally far apart. The room was silent except for the soft hum of equipment. Jasmine's hands rested calmly in her lap, but her jaw was tense, and Kirk couldn't stop rubbing his palms together, a nervous habit. "We know there have been a lot of rumors." Kirk looked at Jasmine and silently asked for permission to speak when the producer gave the signal. She nodded once, barely perceptible, but it was enough. Kirk started, his voice strained, the words sounding rehearsed, but the emotion behind them was raw. Before he could finish, Jasmine took over, her tone steadier. "We didn't plan for this to happen in public," she said. Everyone watching in real time was shocked by that sentence alone. Fans were taken aback by the rapid influx of comments, which included accusations, angry emojis, and hearts colliding in real time. "We're having a baby girl," Kirk stated after pausing. The words hung in the air, heavy and permanent. Jasmine briefly closed her eyes and exhaled, as if she had been holding her breath for months. The internet erupted, with some fans crying happy tears and others accusing them of manipulation. In a matter of minutes, the reveal became one of the most talked about moments on the internet. But the revelation wasn't the end, rather, it was the start of something much messier. The host's questions were more pointed than anticipated, and Jasmine was the first to respond, her voice shaking now. "Why hide it? Were you ever going to tell the truth? Is this relationship real?" she said. "We hid it because we were scared, not of the baby, but of the world." Knowing that the next part would be painful, Kirk shifted uneasily as she spoke. The tension between them was evident because not everyone was prepared to stand up. Kirk attempted to explain himself, talking about pressure, expectations, and fear of losing everything he had worked for. Jasmine listened in silence until she was unable to listen any longer. "You already lost something," she said softly, looking directly at him. "You lost time," she said. Even the host didn't seem to know how to proceed, and there was no relief when the interview was over. The studio fell silent once more. Outside, fans yelled their opinions, paparazzi yelled questions, and security struggled to contain the mayhem. Jasmine was led into a car first, followed by Kirk, and neither of them spoke inside. The fallout was instantaneous, and Kirk's phone was constantly flashing. Missed calls from friends, relatives, and business associates blended together. Within hours, one company formally dropped him, publishing an ambiguous statement regarding alignment and principles. Jasmine also received messages, some of which were harsh and some of three which were sympathetic, with one saying, "Hope the baby was worth it." Families responded differently. Kirk's father accused him of being dishonest with them as well as the public, and his parents were shocked and upset that they had d. She glanced at the screen before turning the phone off entirely. A few days later, Kirk and Jasmine met in private for the first time since the announcement. There were no cameras, no audience, just unresolved emotions. Kirk apologized once more, this time without any justifications. "I was wrong," he said. "I let fear lead me." His mother wept, torn between excitement for a grandchild and anger at the secrecy. Jasmine's family, on the other hand, rallied around her fiercely. Her father publicly defended her, saying she showed strength and dignity under duress. Jasmine listened, arms crossed, not out of anger, but self-protection. "I don't need perfect," she said. Acknowledging the amount of work ahead, Kirk nodded and said, "I need present." More revelations came to light as the topic continued to dominate headlines. Kirk's longtime buddy said he had been aware of the pregnancy months before. According to another report, the arguments were so heated that they once thought about calling it quits. Every assertion and denial was examined by fans. People's emotions were running high as they took sides, making a private conflict visible to the public. Jasmine had the most difficulty at night. When she was by herself with her thoughts, she wondered if telling the truth had really set her free. Raising a child under continual monitoring frightened her. She was concerned about re-establishing her trust in Kirk. However, she gained clarity as she sensed the soft reminder of life developing inside of her. "I'll be sufficient," she said to herself. Kirk, on the other hand, had to deal with the outcomes he had attempted to avoid. Invitations vanished. Friends fell silent. His carefully constructed image, which had taken years to develop, soon fell apart. He now realized what Jasmine had been carrying on her own for so long. He was overcome with regret, but he was also determined. He started showing up, going to appointments, and publicly standing up for Jasmine even at his own expense. Public opinion was marginally changed by a single moment captured on a fan's phone. While hiding Jasmine from the cameras and opening a car door for her, Kirk whispered something that gave her a slight smile. This time, fans are taken aback by kindness rather than drama. Anger gave way to cautious hope in the comments. Some wrote, "Perhaps he's evolving." In a rare post, Jasmine addressed the accusations made by a former associate that the pair was exploiting the pregnancy for pity, but not everyone was persuaded. "This isn't a storyline," she wrote.